Hey guys, welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about basil. I'm going to show you how I dry my basil. I do it two different ways. I air dry it, and then I also put it in the dehydrator. I don't have a fancy dehydrator. I got one from Walmart. It's cheap, works good. It's all you need. But I'm going to show you my basil plants that I've been cutting off all year, and I've been saving multiple rounds of because I like basil and I like to use it in cooking, like it in fresh cooking for summer, and it tastes great. So I'm going to show you the different types I have and how I do that. Now, as you can see, I've been harvesting already. I have purple basil, and then I have the green basil. I think this is, I'm going to say this wrong, Genovese basil. I have a couple different varieties, but you can tell right here that it's trying to go to seed. Now, if you want your basil to last all summer, all you have to do is pop these off, okay? Pop them off. But you can tell when they start to go right here in the middle, they start to form the little seed heads. But I've been cutting off this, you can see. I'm going to cut down here. I'm going to cut close to the bottom. See where I cut it beforehand? And it just keeps growing. Don't let it go to seed or it won't grow anymore. So I'm going to cut all of these off. I'm going to cut them all off. This is my purple basil. I love it. It smells so good just standing here. But I'm going to cut a bunch of these off. Let's see. I know this looks like a junk ton of basil. And it is, but I'm going to be stripping the leaves off the stem, so I'm not too worried about it. I'm going to cut this one about halfway up. Okay, so I know that plant looks scraggly now, but don't worry about it. It will bounce back and start producing more basil, and I want it to keep going through the end of the year. I'm trying to do this with one hand, guys. All right, so here's another one. I have another purple basil I'm going to harvest off of, and then I have a couple of other ones mixed in. And then I have a little one that just really hasn't done anything. This is all it's done all year. And I don't know if it's the variety. It smells great. But I don't remember which one I planted here. It's like it's struggling to get its big leaves. Now this basil looks sad, and I think I'm going to pull it out. It's diseased. I don't know why this one did that, but I was harvesting off it, and this just turned like this in the past couple weeks. So I'm not going to use this one. You see the leaves? I don't use those. I make sure they're good and healthy. And I got some more purple basil. Remember, I use basil as a deterrent around most of my plants because a lot of pests do not like it. But this one looks fine. Get off there, bug. But this one looks okay. I'm going to harvest off this. I already did the other one. Don't remember. I know I had some Persian basil. I'm going to say it wrong again. Genovese basil. And then my purple basil. And I think I had one more. I don't remember, honestly. I'm going to show you this basil. This is a purple basil. But look, I let it go to seed. See how long? This is all the seeds. It's what it looks like when you let it go to seed. And you don't keep chopping it down for it to regenerate. It looks terrible. I'm not going to use this one. I was going to use it for seeds. And I still am. I'm letting it go. Look. An okra flower. Isn't it pretty? It's super pretty. Got a couple more hiding. Here's the basil I cut off earlier, and this one's still good. But you can see where I've been chopping it throughout the year, and it comes back, see? It starts to pop out new little leaves. And this is the one that I'm going to use too, because, oh, it smells amazing. Just touching it, it smells so good. But also, I mean, like I said, fresh for summer, and then I cut off that one earlier too, and I dehydrate and dry them so I can have it for winter cooking, and it smells amazing still. They're great during the winter. Parsley. Gotta come harvest some of this and dry it. All right, I think I mentioned this before, but you can wash your basil when you bring it in. I usually wait until after it rains and it dries some. So these are all dry. They just got rained on all last night. They're dry now. You can wash it, but you have to make sure it's very dry. You can put it through like a salad spinner or something. I don't personally do that. It doesn't matter to me. I know I don't use pesticides in my garden at all, and I check every single leaf when I take it off the stem for bad spots or other pests, things like that. It's up to you guys. You can do whatever you want to do either way, but collect your basil. Now I'm going to show you some that I've already dried and how I hang this, and then also the dehydrator that I use to get this all done. Okay, here's the dehydrator that I use. I use this for everything. It's called a Gamekeeper from Weston. I got this from Walmart. It was in the hunting section, in the sports goods section. It works great. I use it for everything. It will do anything. So you don't need a big fancy dehydrator. If you have one of those, great. If you don't, it's okay. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through all of these, and I'm going to start picking off every single leaf, okay, off the stems. What I'm going to do, you can leave it like this. With the long stem, I usually pinch off most of this bottom so I can fit more in here without having a problem, and then I check the leaf to make sure there's no pests or anything on it. Oops, sorry guys. And then I'm just going to lay it in here. I'm going to lay it in here thick, because when this dries, when it starts drying, they're going to shrink up so much. You're going to have so much room in here. It's going to be crazy. So, doesn't matter how you put it in here. Now I'll overlap them a little, but I won't stick them straight on top like that. But they will have some overlap. It's not going to hurt them to have a little bit. And I'm going to fill this entire tray up. And I usually do just either the purple or the green. I don't usually mix them because I want them all to go in the same thing. So I'm going to fill this whole tray up. I'll probably do green. This will take about a day or two. Well, that one got ripped, but it's still good. Depending on your dehydrator. Now see, mine, I know mine will go down, I think it's 105. If you have one that goes to 95, that's even better. Or 90, 95, that's even better. Lower the heat. The more you get, basically, the flavor and everything to stay inside there. You're not cooking it as bad. But that's why I like to hang dry a lot of my herbs, because it does have great flavor afterwards. The basil, they're about the same, no matter if it's in the dehydrator or being hung up to dry. And I'm just going to fill all of these and keep going all the way to the bottom. And then I'll show you the trays and what I put it on, and then how I hang the rest of them. All right, now here's the trays. Now on my dehydrator, these all have to be open. And then the top one is closed, and I'll show you here in a second, but I was showing you how full I packed those trays. And now I did go, when I put them in the dehydrator, I do check every single leaf. I turn them both sides to make sure there's no bugs or spiders or webs or anything else. And remember, you're free to wash it beforehand. I just don't. I wait until after it rains. Now see, this one has the dome. This one has to be on top. Let's see. All right. Let's plug this in. So my lowest temp is 100. Temp is 100. Time, I'm gonna do about 10 hours and hit start. Now this might take more than 10 hours, it might take less. Sometimes I've let this run overnight. Let me pause it. Sometimes I've let this run overnight, and then halfway through, like if I have set for 10 hours, I'll check it halfway through, and if I need to flip some of these or separate them so they're not stuck together, I will. And then I'll keep letting them go, and you're going to let these dehydrate until they are crispy, where you can take them out and crunch them in your hand, and there's no more, it's not wet, it's not sticky, it's not still pliable, they just crunch. That's how you know it's ready and they're done. I'm going to get this one going here in a second, and I'm going to get my twine out. You can get twine anywhere, Dollar Tree, Dollar General. I find mine at Walmart in the hardware section. They have all kinds of different ones you can pick from. That's what I'm going to do with the rest of this. I'm going to string it up. When you air dry it, you let it dry for about 7 to 10 days, okay? Put it somewhere where it won't be bothered. I have hooks in my ceiling that I use to dry all my herbs. This way I don't ever have to buy basil again, okay? When I do it this way and air drying. And then I also bought some little jars, I'll show you here in a second, off of Amazon to store them. You can put them in mason jars if you want to use mason jars. You can put them in tubs. I prefer something you can vacuum seal, like mason jars, or you can put them in the little jars if you're going to sell them, if you have an abundance. But all the rest of this I'm going to use for twine. Now I'm going to show you some that I have already, you can hear it. It's very crunchy. You can see the twine where it was hanging up. See how it's crunchy? This is what it looks like when it's dried. And I'm going to grind this up and put it in a container, and I'll show you that. But this is what it looks like when it's dried, when it's done. All right, here's the twine I use. You can find any twine. I've had green twine, purple twine, doesn't matter. And I'm going to make bundles out of this. And I'm not going to make really thick bundles, okay? Because if you make them too thick, they don't dry right. And I'm going to actually make the bundles and then put the lengths of twine at different lengths. I'm going to do it like a stair step, going down for the lengths so that they get good airflow. So let's make a couple of bundles right here. Now if you want to, look on the underside. Look at the basil, make sure there's no spider webs for the ones you're hanging up. I already looked at every single one for the ones that went in the dehydrator. Let's see. All right, so this is a pretty good bundle. And it's going to be hung upside down. And I'm going to use the twine to make, like I said, the different lengths. All right. And so I'm just going to put it underneath. I do it about halfway up and just tie them off. I do it pretty tight because they will come loose when they start drying. So I do it tight right there in the middle. And then I'll do about a foot, foot and a half, and the next one I'll do longer. So it's going to be hanging like this. And then the next one I'll have stopping about right here on it. So the other one will be up. So let's get this one and I'll show you how I hang them up. It's the same as with the dill. I have a dill video. It's the same thing, drawing them. Just let them, put them somewhere you have good airflow, one. But you're not, this doesn't have a chance to get wet or anything like that. You don't want that. So I'll have to do that one a little bit longer and cut it. Now, I know it's a little hard to see because of the light coming through the window so bright, but I have hooks up there. And the first one that was shorter, I'm going to pull as close as I can up and then tie it off. Still giving it good airflow, okay? So the next one is going to sit just a little bit lower so it has airflow. So I'm going to pull it up about right there. See how it still has room for airflow and to dry. Now I have multiple hooks up here, so I'm going to do it on this one and this one too for the green and the purple, and I'll show you when it's done. All right, see how stair step it like one's higher than the other so you have airflow. Same with this, you don't want to put it all in one bunch or else they don't dry right. You don't want to put them all in one bunch or they don't dry right. I'm going to leave that other hook. I'm going to go grab some parsley and dry some parsley. Every time my sister comes over, she's like, your house looks like Skyrim, where I have all of the herbs and stuff drying all over my house. If you know points, if you know what that is. It's a video game. Before I show you me grinding it up, and this is the same herb grinder I used for the dill, I wanted to show you the jars. This is, I got these off of Amazon, and it comes with like a whole pack. It's got a funnel, a thing to clean. It's got labels, a bunch of labels for saving stuff if you wanted to put them in smaller ones, or if you grow stuff like I do. And this is what the jars look like. I think this is 36 jars, and it was a great price. I mean, it was less than $1 a jar, so if you're able to do that. So here's some of the purple basil that I saved from this year, and this is basil from this year also. And this is just a jar I had, but this is some of the dill. And it's pretty close to these, they just don't have the same lid. So if I can, I will link the, put the link in the description for these if you're interested in saving your own spices. And even if you want to break some up into smaller ones and give them away as gifts, by bulk, you can do that too. But I'm going to start grinding this up. I'm going to cut off all of the twine, and then I'm going to pull all of the leaves off like this. I don't do the stems. They're too woody. I don't like them. That's preference. If you want to do the stems, you're more than welcome to keep them on there. All right, so this is the same grinder that I use for dill. Okay. I had somebody ask about it on my video for dill. They do have it on Amazon, and they do have it on Walmart.com. So basically all you're going to do, so you can see the blades inside there, I stripped it all down. Now some of them have the tiny little stems at the end. I'm not worried about those. It's the big stems. They're too woody. So what you do is you take it and you stuff it inside both sides. Okay. Stuff it in there really good. It chops up better when it's full. It doesn't do as well when you don't have a lot in there. Now, if you wanted to leave your basil whole, you could do that too, but I chop mine up. And put it in a mason jar if you didn't want to chop it up. If you had some, a vacuum sealer, you could put some in that and save some for later. Because these should last a really good long time, especially if it's yours. You know where it's come from. You know what you put on your plants. Okay, it's pretty full. Let me get anything that's on this. Okay, then you use this to push it down. And when you push it down, you just start turning, okay? Now, if you don't want a hand crank herb grinder, you can go on anywhere online, especially Amazon or Walmart or other places. They have electric ones that you can use also. I just have this one. But if you can't twist like this, electric grinder would be amazing. Probably help your wrist out if you're not physically able to do it. So what you do is you keep working it down, and they come out like this. Okay. Most of it's smaller pieces. Now you have some bigger chunks. I'm going to run it through again once I get done with all this, and I have a big pile right here. I'm going to run it through here one more time to try to chop it up more. And that's preference. If you want it bigger and chunkier, leave it like that. If you want it smaller, run it through a second time. This is what it looks like after I send it through a second time. If you still don't like the size of it, you can run it through a third time. And now make sure your jars are washed and everything before you put them in there. And then I just use a spoon to scoop mine in because it fits inside the jar. But if you can use the funnel if you want, it's just really tiny at the bottom, so it takes a while for it to filter through, unless it's something smaller. But I mean, this is not hard, it's easy. See, there's all the stems. This is what it ends up looking like in the jar. Label it, put the year. You can give them as gifts. You can keep them for yourself. I never have to buy basil. I haven't bought basil in a really long time. And if you let some go to seed, you don't ever have to buy seed either. It's the next day. See how much they shrunk. Now, some of them are done. You can hear the crunch on that one. This one's not done. See that one? You hear that one? That one's done. This one, see? It's been in there the same amount of time, so some are done or some are not. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to condense all these trays down, probably into one tray, and leave the ones in that are not done yet. I can see some of these are still kind of papery. They're not done, but then other ones are completely done. So once you get to this point, condense them down, put the ones that still need to go in there, and just keep letting them go, and then put the other ones in a bag or something until you're ready to either chop them up or put them in a container. I know this is bright, but you can hear it. All these are done now. I'm going to put these up. Remember, there's lots of different ways you can store this once they're completely dry. Alright guys, that's it on the All About Basil. I hope that you can take this video, and if you have basil growing, to save it for next year. If you don't, next year grow some. Come back and watch this video, put your basil up. You don't have to buy it anymore. It is expensive in the store. All the herbs and stuff, they're getting pretty expensive. If you can grow them yourself, it's easy. They're not hard, and a lot of them, they come back every year, like thyme, oregano, things like that. Oh, rosemary, as long as they don't get too cold. They'll come back every year, but basil, I do have to plant every year, but you can save the seeds. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you guys next time. This Rose of Sharon has been giving me multi-blooms this year. More white with pink inside, and then pure pink, and then purple. It's the weirdest thing. It's never done that before, but it's pretty.